We've got the 14th Sunday of Pentecost this week, and this is the first week in 6 weeks we're not talking about bread. So it's shifting. We're going back into the Mark text, and we've got quite the kind of legal law thing today. So I thought we'd play with it with a metaphor. So I've been here making pots this morning, and I'm kind of dirty. I'm kind of full of clay, and it's probably on my face and my glasses, and no shape to be leading a worship service as a priest. So it's going to feed right into the text. So it should be good. As far as the text goes, it should be good. But if we could just have a moment of silence before we get started. Crystal, there's a bulletin right inside the door there if you want to grab one. And then, so we'll start with a moment of silence, and we'll take a look, right? All right, we open with prayer. The Lord be with you all. Let us pray. Compassionate and loving God, we thank you that you have come to us in Jesus, the servant Christ, whose disciples we are. Make us strong in your strength, make us wise in your wisdom, and make us gentle in your compassion. May we be signs of the human unity you seek to accomplish through the cross of Jesus Christ, that your name may be glorified in all the earth. Amen. All right, the first lesson that we're going to read today is from the book of James. And James is a book that Martin Luther, he wanted it kicked out of the Bible. Just get rid of it. It's a straw book, he called it, because in his day he was trying to fight against this idea that you had to walk a mile on your knees. You had to pay enough. If you didn't do enough, you had to visit holy sites. You had to do all these works in order to get to heaven. And there was all kinds of elaborate schemes and ways that were made so that no matter how good you were, you ended up in some kind of a minimal in-between place. So then your relatives that are left behind could keep paying for you forward to get you going. So it was all about works righteousness. And Luther comes along and realizes that it's about grace, and we're saved through faith in God, and works is not necessary for salvation. However, Luther he would also say that works are the fruit of your faith, but he could not get over it. He could not get over James being so works focused. So he couldn't thread the needle to say, looking at the argument. So we usually omit the book of James when the texts come up, but I couldn't help myself today. So let's look at the book of James here. You'll see how James is really interested in putting your actions where your mouth is. Every generous act of giving with every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. In fulfillment of his own purpose, he gave us birth by the word of truth, so that we would become a kind of first fruits of his creatures. You must understand this, my beloved. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, for your anger does not produce God's righteousness. Therefore, rid yourself of all the sordidness and rank growth of wickedness, and welcome with meekness the implanted word that has the power to save your souls. But be doers of the word, and not merely hearers who deceive themselves. For if any are hearers of the word and not doers, they are like those who look at themselves in a mirror. For they look at themselves and on going away immediately forget what they were like. but those who look into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and persevere, being not hearers who forget, but doers who act, they will be blessed in their doing. If any think they are religious and do not bridle their tongues, but deceive their hearts, their religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to care for orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself unstained by the world. The end of the first lesson. I can see the argument. I think but what I can't see is my glass of water. Oh, I do see it. Hold on 1 second. There it is. It's like finding Elmo. Find your glass of water. Okay. So now we're going to come into an argument between Jesus and the Pharisees. Now when the Pharisees and some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus, they noticed that some of his disciples were eating with defiled hands, that is, without washing them. For the Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they thoroughly wash their hands, thus observing the tradition of the elders. And they do not eat anything from the market unless they wash it. And there are also many other traditions that they observe: the washing of cups, pots, and bronze kettles. So the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, "Why do your disciples not live according to the tradition of the elders, but eat with defiled hands?" He said to them, "Isaiah prophesied rightly about you hypocrites, as it is written, 'The people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching human precepts as doctrines. You abandon the commandments of God and hold to human tradition.'" Then he called the crowd again and said to them, "Listen to me, all of you, and understand. There is nothing outside a person that by going in can defile, but the things that come out are what defile. From it is from within, from the human heart, that evil intentions come: fornication, theft, murder, adultery, avarice, wickedness, deceit, licentiousness, envy, slander, pride, folly. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person." This is the gospel of the Lord. If you look at the heading of the text, it's Mark 7, 1 through 8. Skip 9 through 13, do 14 to 15, skip 16 through 20, and then do 21 through 23. It's either caught up in so much legalism it's hard to understand it, given our cultural difference, or it's so foul that you don't want to use it in the sanctuary setting. But of course, I can't help it. He really does go on. And why is he so upset with these Pharisees? Aren't the Pharisees just asking them to wash their hands before they eat, like any good mom would? And you know which good moms you are. Are you one of the good moms, or are you one of the moms that just says, "I'm so tired of these kids, let them get worms"? They can take ivermectin. Oh, that's a low one. So what are they so upset about? What's going on here? Jesus is, he's been across the lake a couple times. He's gone back and forth, and he's been on the Gentile side. He spent the night there, and he's come back. He's been to the marketplaces, right? And in fact, it says in the text right before this that people were following him everywhere, and they were actually bringing their ill people and laying them right in the marketplaces so that he could come by and touch them, or they could touch him. Just touch him as he goes by. And if they could do that, they'd be healed. And they were. in the marketplaces. Again, not in the temple, not at the doctor's office, which is the second, ante room right off the office, but in the marketplace. And in the marketplace, that's where everything is foul. It's not clean there. It's not pure. It hasn't been blessed by a priest. It hasn't been clean. It hasn't been washed off properly. So here's Jesus and his disciples. They come and they're sitting around and they're eating, and they're coming from their tradition. They're fishermen. They're plumbers. They're electricians. They run garbage trucks, and here they are not washing their hands. I think to us, you'd think, yeah, really, come on, why don't you do that? In that day, it's not like you could say, excuse me, waiter, could you point me to the way for the bathroom? Could you point me to the place where I can wash my hands? You'd be lucky if there was a jar of water for purification. And if you did, who knows how you get to it, whether you'd have to pay a little extra or whatever, but the common person wasn't able to access that unless they had a system. And here these fishermen, the fishermen were going to go back out and they were going to clear the fish from the nets. They were going to get dirty right away anyway. So they were used to just dipping their hands in the river or whatever they could do to get their hands reasonably clean and then dig in. That's not good enough to be in the temple. It's not good enough to be in the synagogue. It's certainly not good enough to handle the scriptures. And here's Jesus. I'm sure, I've always, as a little kid, I used to think the disciples weren't washing their hands, but Jesus did, right? Nowhere does it say that. I'm guessing Jesus was doing the same thing. And see, the Pharisees, they really believed in, and it's not wrong. It's not wrong. In some ways, we're Pharisees. We really want to do what's right. We really do. We want to include as many people as we can. We want to keep it. Look at all you good mask wearers. You got masks on. I mean, it's a good thing. It protects each other. So we're going to try to do what's right. Pharisees, all you Pharisees. So it's not that they're bad. It's that they're seeing two different classes of people that are doing their best to be pure and clean and holy and righteous, and those that aren't. It's either or. Which one is it? And Jesus is coming along, and the people that are following him, for the most part, most of their life, they haven't been able to do that at all. And let's be clear, the Pharisees were a class unto themselves. The Pharisees were people that they took the laws that the priests had to live by for purity in the temple when they were at work, cleaning their hands and scrubbing kettles, and the households would do that as they could, but they took it to a whole new level. They were going to do this everywhere they went in life. They were going to be holy and pure everywhere, even where they slept, every place. And they figured Jesus he's a good teacher. They called him that plenty of times. Good teacher. Why aren't you following the traditions of the elders? It's not even the commandment of God, and that's one of the things that's missing from the text. Jesus says, you're saying that we need to follow the elders. Well, that's not what we were supposed to follow in Deuteronomic law. You've made that stuff up on your own. For good reasons. I mean, don't cook a chicken with an egg in the pot in case you don't get it hot enough, you can get salmonella. They didn't call it in those days, but they were being healthy, but they took it to a degree that they were worshiping the laws rather than what the laws were made for the health and well-being of people. So Jesus says, you hypocrites, you take people like, let's pick on Anna. You take people like Anna here, And you take Anna, and her parents are getting really old, can't work anymore. And the law states you honor your father and your mother, and which also means in their old age, you take care of them. You pay for everything for them. You make sure that they've got good food and all their kettles are washed, and you provide for them. But you hypocrites, you make a clause in your laws that says, now Anna, if you want to, and we've got laws like this too. It's called reverse mortgage. Anna, if you would like to, what you could do, you'll still be just as holy, maybe more so. You could donate all of your parents' household belongings, their estate. You could donate that to the church. You know, they can have most of it until they die, but when they die, it comes to the church. In the meantime, you won't have to take care of them at all. You don't have to make sure that their pots are clean. You don't have to make sure that they even have food, because it's expensive to take care of your elders. But don't worry about that. Leave that to the church. The church takes care of the elderly, the orphans, and the widows. You know, $120 a month, they're going to be fine. And you had a way out, and it made it easier for people. He says, so you hypocrites, you say that you're being clean, but you're getting around everything. You're leaving relationships just in a mess, and the orphans and the widows, you're not providing for them by doing that. So don't come to me with that. So then he goes on and talks about what defiles, and he says, what goes in cannot defile you. It's what comes out and goes into the sewer. That's what defiles you. That's literally what he says. So in some ways, I'm making a point here today. The Pharisees were not bad people. They really believed in holiness and virtue and doing what's right. But I'm going just to make the point, I'm going to write my hand the best I can. What they were really about, can it follow me? It is following me. What they were about, I'll get closer. What they were really concerned with is having the proper things for the rituals and having really nice things. So you get an urn, you know, you can put your ashes in there, your family can put your, and isn't it beautiful? Don't touch it with your dirty hands, because it's pure. It's been blessed. But they didn't want to talk to the potter. They didn't want to see the messiness and the dirtiness of the potter. They wanted to see the product. This is the product. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we want the best for our people. And what they forgot is, it's kind of like we want kids that listen to their parents and they say yes and thank you and please and no sir and yes ma'am and do all of those things, but they don't want to be around the kids for bedtime. They don't want to be around the kids during regular life. And kids are messy. They're messy creatures. And I remember when our kids were little, they were really little. They were like 3 and 5, and they had the neighbor girls from down the street playing with them in my clay studio. And I let them in there, and Karen said, "Are you sure that that's a good thing?" And I said, "Well, what are they going to do? Like spill the clay? You know, I've already spilled the clay." And so I went away and did my thing, as any good dad would do, just kind of forget about the kids. And I came back a little while later just to check on them. I opened the door, I looked in, and all 4 of them have their clothes totally stripped off. They're butt naked. They're absolutely butt naked, and they dumped my 30-gallon bucket of extra clay slop on the floor. they just, I don't know, they pulled it over and they dumped it. It was just like a pigsty. It was just a slop sty. And they were running and sliding on their butts. Boom, hit the wall. And I walked in there and I looked in there. And at first I looked and I thought, that's hilarious. That's really great. And I shut the door as fast as I could. And I gathered myself together and I realized, oh, dang it, Dave, you're a dad. This isn't about fun. You are a dad. Now pull it together and give them the law. Open the door and, what are you doing in here, you guys? And Kaya Porter, you know, down the street, she's 22 now. She still says that she's always been scared to death of me from that. You know, we've gone on vacations together. We love each other, but she says, I was so afraid of you that day because I knew how bad it was. And it's clean this mess up. You could get hurt. You could get an infection. You'll never get this out of your hair. What if your mother sees you? All of that. And I said, when I come back in a couple minutes, I need you guys to be cleaned up, clean this up, and the garden hose is outside. Don't go in the house. Clean this mess up. And of course, you know, 3 and 5 and 6 and, you know, good luck with that. You know, so I knew that it wasn't going to get cleaned up and I was going to have to gauge somehow and spraying them off with a garden hose. They were being kids. And I got to tell you, it was delightful. It was actually delightful for me to see it. I wish, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, that would have been so fun as a kid. But there's also rules. Not to mention, you know, clay, you know, it's a lot of money for that clay. You know, I'm going to have to clean that up. So I've got to, and could they get hurt? Yes, they could get hurt. All of that, you know, maybe they'll never walk again. But you see where I'm going here? It's like we have rules so that people can live better and maybe not get hurt. You don't go through a red light because it's out of consideration for you're wearing all your masks because it's about Elsie and Lou who can't get vaccinated. It's about, it goes on and on. But sometimes we want to live the rules as though if we do the rules well enough and we stay clean enough and leave the dirty work to the potter. But what Jesus is saying in this text, I really believe he's saying this, is we're taking religion, we're taking faith out of the sanctuary. There's nothing wrong with the sanctuary. He visited the sanctuary, sang the hymns and the psalms and did the prayers, read the scriptures. He's not against that. But you're going to walk into life and we're going to change this. We're going to change this religiosity. And it's not going to be about staying holy enough. It's not about staying clean enough. It's about getting dirty together. It's about being okay with getting dirty together in ways that you had never imagined. It's not about avoiding the bar, or no, it's not about avoid getting caught at the bar with your car parked out front. It's about entering into life with people right where they are and right where we are. I mean, really, it's like some of the earthiness of life is our gift. That's our gift. And so much of the earthiness, we want to bury it and not tell people about it. Because if they knew that about me, if they knew what I really thought about my second born child, if they really knew, oh man, if they really knew how I give myself a little bit of extra serving of this or that when the meal comes, if they really knew that I just delight in letting our dog roll in the woods, in the deer carcass, that still, I mean, wow, look at how he just glories in that. Bring him home to Karen. It's like, oh my gosh. Oh, he was celebrating glory, Karen. It's the earthiness. It's the earthiness that we're going to miss. I miss changing Emily and Nicholas's dirty diaper. I really miss it. I would do, if I could go back in time and do that again. I know it sounds weird, but it's fitting with the text. I know we took those little things out, but it's like that earthiness is who we are. It's the glory. And here Jesus has these people that they're eating without washing their hands. Now, we're not even getting into the economics of this. Who could wash their hands all the time like that? They knew where the disciples had been. Even if they did wash their hands, they wouldn't want to touch Jesus if he washed his hands. He just healed a woman. He's about to heal a Syrophoenician woman in the next verses and touch her and be touched by all these people that are not supposed to be touching anybody, but going into this long ritual of cleanliness and purification after you've been violated by the likes of you people, especially in the marketplace where nothing is controlled. And here's Jesus saying, would you like some babi ganoush? Would you like some tabbouleh? Not from your hands. But Margaret made it. She makes the best, you know that. I'll wait until the potluck at the synagogue. But everybody knows that her babi ganoush is best when it's served right there on the front porch, fresh off the table. And we all know that, including the Pharisees, But we need to open the door, screw ourselves together, and say, what are you doing in here? You humans, what are you doing, disciples? What are you doing, scribes and Pharisees? What are you doing, political officials? What are you doing? Do you think this life is just a ball? Do you think we're just supposed to have fun here? Do you think this is fun for me to do this to you now? This is going to hurt me more than you. That's what we do. And Jesus says, no more, no more. What a threat that guy was. The Pharisees go away to wash themselves a little bit more after that interaction and sit and think about what they did and wish that they could still be there watching and listening and eating some of the tabbouleh with their raw fingers that have never touched a piece of raw clay in their life. And if they had, they're not going to tell anybody anything about it. So I'm going to end. I really am going to end with people in Zoom land and people in person. I know you thought this was true before. I've totally lost track of the sense of time. It could be 11:30. It could be 10:30. I don't know what it is. But we're going to end with me making a lid for one of these urns, and it's a job that you do, and it's thankless. Nobody knows. Nobody watches it. But just enjoy it. Just be creaturely about it. And after we're done here, put your hand in some clay. You're welcome to do that. Just don't touch the chairs. Oh. Pastor Dave says that you don't have to wash your hands. I'm going to put this down a little bit because my mom can't see and she thinks that I don't know she's there. Imagine the Pharisees coming to buy an urn. Yeah, what can I do for you? Don't touch me. But this is the fun part. All right, amen. Amen, amen. You creatures. I think we're up to offering time. And as I've said before, you know, we've got two different ways to do offering. One is in person here, one is in Zoom land. I have to bring my microphone to somebody here for Zoom land to hear, which is what I'll do for Vicki in a second. She'll have a song to play, some music. And I think that works pretty well. I think people are able to see pretty well and hear when she plays. Does anybody have anything they'd like to offer for offering today? Anybody? In Zoom land, is there anybody out there? Kind of hard to see. Gotta jump up and down and just throw a fit or something if you've got something in Zoom land. No? All right, puppies have all been born and given homes. All right, as I've been doing the last few weeks, I'll head over to Vicki now. Hopefully the camera will follow me and you guys can listen to her offering of music. Following me. There we go. Good. I'm going to sit right here. All right, it's got us. Thank you, Vicki. If you're gonna follow me. Kind of lost me behind the altar. Oh, Oh, it was asleep. I put the camera to sleep. Thank you, Vicki. All right. Continue with our Richard Rohr prayer, prayers of the people. And when we have our brief silence, you can offer your prayer in the silence of your hearts. Oh, great love, thank you for living and loving in us and through us. May all that we do flow from our deep connection with you and all beings. Help us become a community that vulnerably shares each other's burdens and the weight of glory. Listen to our heart's longings now for the healing of our world. Pray for a world that's in turmoil in so many ways, and refugees. Pray for the people of Afghanistan. Pray for service people. Pray for all the people that are fearing for their lives. Pray for the people of New Orleans and the South, once again being hit on this anniversary day with another hurricane, landing almost as we speak. Be with those grieving the loss of loved ones in their lives. Pray for those that are working so hard to keep up with all of the work in hospitals across the world as COVID continues to ravage communities. Knowing you are hearing us better than we are speaking, we offer these prayers in all the holy names of God. Amen. And I don't think there's a connection necessarily, but we've had about 4 inches of rain here in the last couple of weeks since we started praying this Irish blessing. So I'm gonna pray it again. Boy, we've needed rain. We need it so badly everywhere. Everywhere but the fair, right? Lord, and if we could just have rain everywhere, but at the picnic. May the blessing of the rain be on you, the soft, sweet rain. May it fall upon your spirit so that all the little flowers may spring up and shed their sweetness on the air. May the blessing of the great rains be on you. May they beat upon your spirit and wash it fair and clean, and leave there many a shining pool where the blue of heaven shines, and sometimes a star. Go in peace and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God. I know that we've had trouble with birthdays for the last, I don't know, year and a half. We had a birthday. We've had a birthday almost every week now for a while. It's hard to sing that together. But are there any birthdays that we're celebrating this week? And I think we're going to have the biggest birthday cake when we're all able to be back together. We'll bake it in the pizza oven. Yeah. What could go wrong? I'll bet you will eat it though. All right. Well, for breakout groups, just stay on Zoom, and you can be together in one group. And the rest will head on outside. I think it's a beautiful day. It's not raining, and we can visit out there and take masks off, and we can do that. Is there anybody else that has an announcement that they'd like to give? Yeah, Edie.
Karen Schrupp from Emmanuel Lutheran Church.
Yeah.
She sent us a message this week that they are choosing not to come back to inside services.
Okay.
They were thinking by September, but they're not.
Okay, so Emmanuel Mennonite Church has announced that they're not going to be coming back in September like they had planned because of the Delta variant and all the other ones. Yeah, so we'll keep going forward. And anybody else? Anybody else? Yeah.
who is recently moved to a nursing home and not doing so well. Your prayers would be, I would be grateful. We would be grateful.
Mother Jane in the nursing home. Going to, okay, Paul.
Yeah. Yes, I just want to let you know, Legend turned 1 on Friday. He's a year old now.
Okay, little legend turned 1. What a great thing. Boy, they grow up fast, don't they? Have them come over to the studio.
Okay.
I'll keep my eye on him.
Now I'm worried.
Ride down to the fair and anytime within the next hour or two. So
All right. All right. So Robert will take you down there to the fair. That's not what you were hoping for, is it? You know, Dennis was hoping to tell his wife, you know, I couldn't get a ride at all. So I just stayed here all day. Poor Dennis. He gets a lot of the fair. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. Well, it's good to be in person. It's good to be kind of doing the splits between two worlds. Stay safe and stay good. Stay dirty. Wash your hands before you eat. All that stuff, unless you can't. Yeah. No one else has an announcement. Nobody else. All right. Well, be well. We'll hit stop recording here pretty soon, and the breakout groups can chat with each other. And I'll stop and say hello to you on my way out the door to see other people. So, all right. Go out of peace and serve the Lord. All right. We're getting this figured out.